Hey guys, looks like this topic came up a few times in a group. Some people wanted to see, different techniques on how to repair a long crack, so I thought I'm gonna make a quick tutorial just to help some people out. So we have a kind of a combination here. It looks like the rock hit right there and there's like a half moon break, and then it also broke off into a pretty long crack that kind of made it all the way down to the frit. So first thing I did is I drilled a small hole. You can't see it, but it's under the injector, and I popped it just to terminate the break, which is basic procedures with a long crack. The reason I'm doing it this way because the crack goes up, so we're going to use gravity when we weak the resin, so it pushes the air out. So let's say if it would be an opposite direction and that tip would go up, then I would start from this end, and at that time I might not even drill and pop because in my experience those fill up very nicely without drilling it. But because I have to start from the bottom in that particular situation, I had to do that. So you can see my bridge is mounted, have a little mirror to kind of observe what's going on. I also have two crack jacks. Those are made by GT. I really like them. They make the process much easier. And we're going to start filling from the injector. We're going to put some resin in there, put it in a pressure cycle. Do not put it in a vacuum. Always keep it in a pressure, and we will see how far the resin will travel, and then we'll pick up from there with a little Q-tip dipped in the crack resin, and we're going to weak it all the way to this end. With this particular break, I'll probably have to put the bridge over here and inject it separately. I don't think they connect it. So yeah, that's going to be the process, and I will pause this for a second. I'm going to put the resin, put the pressure on, and then I'll show you how to weak it. So here we can see that the pressure was on, and you can see the resin slowly traveling through the crack. You can actually see the air bubbles kind of following it. That's why it's important to go in a up direction so the air is pushed up. And we're going to let it sit for another few seconds. You can always try to apply some thumb pressure depending on what kind of a injector you use, but yeah, we really wanted to kind of get as far as it could be, and then from there we're going to start using a little Q-tip cracked and dipped in a crack resin. Alright, I'm going to pause it again. So the resin I will be using, it's Diamond Clear by GT Tools, and it's labeled as CR. So it is a crack resin, crack repair, and it comes with a little needle nose, kind of a dipper. I find out that using that wastes a lot of product, so what I do is I just unscrew the cap and I use a Q-tip, just a regular Q-tip. So here it is, a Q-tip. I don't think it matters if it's fuzzy or not. Once you dip it in the resin, it's going to be nice and smooth. So in it goes. And now we're going to start slowly applying it from the base of the injector and working our way up. And as you do it, you kind of have to watch it travel through the crack and never get ahead of it. Just patience is the key. Just go little by little. Now, one thing also with the crack repair, I always recommend to work in a controlled environment. So garage or a lot of shade is necessary. or unless if you have one of the domes, because you really want to see what you're doing. Also here, this is a very important step. Once you get a good few inches of the crack filled, it's important to have a tape ready. And what I usually do is I pre-cut it to the length of the crack and to the turns that it has, and you start laying the tape on the parts of the crack that's been filled in, just to avoid any access to the oxygen. So here's my tape, and it's covering the part that's already been filled, and we're just gonna continue wicking it. And you should notice once we getting closer to the car jack, the crack jack, you're gonna start seeing it moving a little bit faster because there is this pressure on it. And it allows the resin to flow a little bit freely. So I highly recommend invest in the crack jacks. They not expensive. Like I said, GT Tools sells them, and I use them on every long crack repair. Let me get another piece of tape. As you can see, using a Q-tip really allows you to control the amount of resin you use. I mean, I don't think you waste as much as you would with a little needle nose. So I do like the Q-tip technique, and you'll be surprised how little resin it really needs to fill up this crack, but the waste, sometimes it's unavoidable, and I think it's just a part of the business. You just have to not worry about that kind of stuff. It takes money to make money. And you see, there's some magic happening right there. So what I'm going to do in this case, I'm going to take it all the way to the end, and then because I'll have to inject that Halfmoon later on, and if they connect it, it will just, take a little bit more resin from the other side. But I would say also, you see, like, corners are very important. If there's a corner, you want to take your time, don't push it, just let the resin kind of do its thing. And also, when you're traveling down, keep in mind the gravity works a little bit differently here, so the resin will want to go ahead of the air. So just take it slow and don't rush it. Don't rush it, and cover it with tape. Alright, so now the crack is filled. Thing with this process, you can't really go back. You can go back inside of the car and see if there's any air bubbles, and you can massage them out and have them pop out. But if you do it right the first time, that might not be necessary. So you see, I'll have to still inject that one, and I drilled it out. So we're gonna just move the bridge over there and inject it. But first, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cure this break, and then I'm gonna work on that other one. I'll just treat it as a separate chip. But I'm pretty happy the way this turned out, and I think I'm ready to start curing it. I don't go crazy with those. I mean, an air bubble or two could happen depending on how long the break was there. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and cure it and see how it turns out. Here's my curing light. Like I said, I'm in garage, so no sun, so we have to cure it. Now, one thing I don't know, and I don't know if it's better to cure with jacks on or off. I always keep them on, and because I'm thinking, when they're on, it allows more resin to get into the crack. So when you release it, it just has more resin, and if anything's going to get pushed out, it'll get pushed out. But I keep them on just not to disturb anything. And going to change the direction now and start curing this segment of it. Alright, so the bridge was moved to fix the Halfmoon, and it looks like I drilled it just perfectly. It's filling up with no issues. So like I said, that's the easy part. That's what everybody's should have no problem with. And you can see the tiny little end. One thing I do with those Halfmoons too, because there's a big opening, I would put some tape over it when I go through pressure cycles, so just to keep the air from coming in. Now, since that brake is not connected to the long crack, you can actually do the vacuum cycle just to get all the air out of it. Alright, so the bridge is off. Put some pit filler because it was a pretty big opening, so we're going to cure that. And also I did put the pit filler on this end where the drill and the pop was, just to fill that in. Just going to cure it for a few seconds, and then we're going to clean it up and check out the result. So as you guys can see, really no need for anything fancy, multiple injectors or anything like that to fix long cracks. They actually one of the easiest things to do, and the result is great and people appreciate it, especially when the windshield has a lot of features. Like this car is equipped with lane assist, rain sensor, it has a heads-up display, and it's heated. So the replacement on that, it's pretty pricey, and this crack is in a passenger bottom corner, so once the repair is done, it's not really going to bother the driver that much, so why not repair it first? And guess what, if it fails, the customer will come back to me and we'll get him into a replacement. So kind of a win-win. And do highly recommend the crack jacks. They do make resin float along a little bit faster, and basic injector, you don't need anything with a vacuum, because you're just going to displace the air through the crack. So anything that has a good pressure will work. I do like this little Delta bridge I have. It's very easy to put on, to set up. You can really aim around the crack. You have a lot of visibility because there's not a lot going on around it. So I do like to use this for my long cracks, and has a controlled amount of pressure I can do, and apply thumb pressure if I have to, and very easy to use around the edges too. Like I said, it doesn't take up a lot of room on the glass. And yep, the crack resin from GT, and it works very great. So like I said, we're going to clean it up and check out the result. So the tape is off. I mean, this is simple stuff. I'm not going to do a lot of it, but you get the idea. Scrape off the excess resin, clean the glass, and you're done. So let me do that real quick, and then I'll come back and show you the final result. Honestly, the most difficult thing I found about long crack repair, it's the cleanup. Just the amount of shavings you have. I hate dealing with that. They're flying all over the place. So one of the tricks I have is to just spray them with a glass cleaner so they stick here, and then just wipe off. Alright guys, so there he is, and like always you're gonna see cracks and at different angles show up a little bit more, but overall I'm losing it sometimes. I don't even see what it is. Trying to focus on it. Yeah, so my fingers kind of follows it, so I mean it's hard to see with reflections. And if we're going on the inside, I'm trying to catch the light just right so we can see a little bit of it, but it's hard. I'm in a garage, there's a lot of stuff around it, but there we go. So yeah, I mean even with my finger right over it and I'm focusing on it, it's hard to see. So it came out very nice. It was a very fresh crack, so not a lot of contamination, so I'm pretty happy. And Halfmoon right here. Oh, I forgot to polish it. Sorry. I'm gonna go polish it up a little bit because it's on a frit, make it a little bit less visible. But other than that, we're done. Hope this helped. Like I said, there was a lot of people asking questions, and if you guys have any questions, let me know. All right, have a great day. Bye.